Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Judy, can we get those, there you go, and the bug can, yeah. We're cooking today, I'll tell you. And guys, today's show, it's show number 108, and the name of the show is Xenophobia. Now, guys, you know, at first, you know, I didn't know what xenophobia was. I thought it was, you know, if you were afraid of spiders or something. But no, that's arachnophobia. But guys, if you didn't know what xenophobia is, don't worry. No, and don't feel embarrassed, because I tell you, when I went to Google it to find out what it was, I typed in, you know, Z-E-N-I-Z-E-N-A, and I'm going, what? How do you spell this thing? So it's one of those words, like John Stewart says, there's a moment of Zen in this. And guys, you know, we want to explain what xenophobia is tonight, but the way we're going to do it is we're going to play a clip from Lawrence Krauss, and he's going to explain it to you. So if people say, you know, where are you getting your information from? You know, cite your source. Well, I'm getting my information from Who's Telling the Truth, where they played a clip from Lawrence Krauss. And it's that simple. And I tell you, you're getting the information from one of the best in the world. And once you listen to him, the more you listen to Lawrence Krauss, the more you're going to like it. But guys, tonight we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to give Donald Trump the old bada bing, and I tell you, not that we're going to give it to him, he does it himself. And all we're going to do is we're going to point it out. And I tell you, you know, guys, Donald Trump has been saying a lot about the Bible. Well, tonight we're going to show you a Bible verse that contains the word Trump. I know, you're not going to believe it, and some people are going to think that Trump is now a psychic or a foreseer, or he might be the new prophet. But guys, I'm telling you, we're going to show you. It comes from Thessalonians, and I'm not going to tell you it now because I don't want you to look it up. I want you to be able to watch the show, and we'll play it for you. But guys, we're going to play a clip from Penn Jillette about reading the Bible, and then we're going to show a clip from Joe Biden and his thoughts on xenophobia, and then what Bernie Sanders has to say. And guys, we're not going to stop there. We're going to take it one step further, and we're going to talk about Kim Davis, you know, the clerk who refuses to marry gay people. And guys, the reason why we're going to play this clip is I love to show when Fox News eats their own. And that I love to use that term because I tell you, they're killing themselves. They don't know what to do. And then the fact that we got the Pope coming this week, and the Pope is going to address Congress, man, the Pope's going to drive a wedge so far into the Republican Party. And you know, we talked about this earlier, about the conundrum. You know, you got people like Uncle Joey. Uncle Joey pretends to be a Christian, but I don't think he's seen the inside of a church for who knows since he got married. But, you know, you got guys like Marty who actively goes to church, you know, and we're going to give him a little bit of the business. But guys, we're going to do it for fun. And, you know, and then there's going to be one last thing I want to, you know, we're going to give Uncle Joey the business about climate change, as usual. But guys, tonight, when we start the show off, we like to start with comedy or humor. But guys, tonight we're going to start off with something that I saw this on Facebook, and guys, this blew me away. And this is going to be when it comes to this coming Christmas, this is going to be the gift that everybody wants. And when you see this thing and how it works, when I first saw it, you know, it's mesmerizing, and you're gonna see. And we're gonna leave my mic open because I want you to see the people standing on the side of the street. When this guy goes by in this thing, it's like, well, I don't know how to explain it. You'll be the judge. So anyway, Judy, let's have clip number 00.
Well, I'm a joke at every party. Can't keep my head above the ground. It seems like everybody tries to put me down. I'm gonna turn my ship around. I'm gonna turn my ship around. I try to speak, but no one listens. It's like I never made a sound. It seems like everybody tries to shut me down. I'm gonna turn my ship around. I'm gonna turn my ship around. I do my best for no good reason.
Guys, look at the crowd. Look at the people standing there in awe.
It seems like everybody tries to knock me down. I'm gonna turn my ship around. No one dares to try and please me. It's like I'm lost and never found. It seems like everybody tries to break me down. I'm gonna turn my ship around. I'm gonna turn my ship around.
Let it keep playing, Judy. There you go. Guys, that's what I always thought a hula hoop was, what he's doing right now. All right, isn't that great? I mean, all right, Judy, you can come back to me now. Want to come back to me? There you go. I want one. I mean, now guys, when I was a kid, I want to tell you, everybody had a hula hoop. I mean, even the kids that couldn't jump rope and, you know, weren't coordinated, everybody had a hula hoop. I think back then they were, what, 59 cents? And, you know, we had so much fun with them. But guys, you know, there's one, I mean, obviously that's going to be a big toy hit. But, you know, the one thing, I mean, I would love to try it. but I've had my hip replaced. So you know what would happen if I hit the ground hard? And guys, when I was growing up, you know, we went through different phases. We went through the hula hoops, then we went through the yo-yos, and somebody came out with skateboards. And I tell you, when the skateboards first came out, they were nothing but a skate nailed to a board. And guys, kids were dropping like flies. So, I mean, I could see if these things become a hit, we better tell the people at the emergency rooms to get prepared. But I tell you, you look at it, I mean, what could be more fun, you know? But anyway. All right, so I wanted to pass that along. I don't know what the product is called. I don't know if the guy just made it, but I had to share it with you, and hopefully you'll share it with other people. But now we're going to get down to the meat of the matter, you know, to the xenophobia. And guys, we're going to start off by giving Donald Trump a little bit of the business. So, Judy, we're going to play a very short clip. This is clip number 1. Go ahead, hit it.
I brought my Bible. See? I'm better than you thought, you see?
Now, guys, I've become a Trump junkie. I really have. When he's on, I mean, it's like the circus came to town. So I'm sitting there, and I'm watching that clip, and he comes out with the Bible, and what was the first thing you think I said when I saw him with the Bible? When he was standing up holding the Bible, I said, yeah, but have you taken the time to sit down and read it? That's all I wanted to know. So I wanted to play the beginning of that clip just to see if Trump has taken the time to read the Bible. Anybody can hold one, and anybody can trump a Bible, or should I say thump a Bible. But you know what? Now we're going to play the full clip. So Judy, let's have clip number 2.
I brought my Bible. See? I'm better than you thought, you see? And actually, this was given to me by my mother, and I was just noticing yesterday, and she wrote such a beautiful inscription. That's Mary MacLeod from Scotland, very religious, actually, and it was something I thought I'd bring along today, because this is a group that fully understands Bibles and respects everything that it says. I also brought my confirmation picture, because nobody can believe it. Nobody believes this. What went wrong? What went wrong?
Jody, what went wrong? What could have possibly went wrong? Guys, I'm going to tell you, and this is the honest truth. I led my confirmation class. I was such a holy roller in 5th grade that the nun picked me to lead the group. And here's the ironic thing. The class was made up of 5th and 6th graders. They only did confirmation every other year. So here I am, a young punk 5th grader. I was such a holy roller that the sister Dorothy Ann made me the group leader. I mean, in front of the bishop and the archbishop and all the whole affair. We all had our gowns on, and you know, so guys, I'm not a hypocrite. I've been on the other side of the fence, you know, but you know, what happens is you start to wake up. And you know, guys, the next clip we're going to play shows what a hypocrite Trump is. And Trump confesses in this clip. Trump confesses that he can't name any passages in the Bible. So, Judy, let's have clip number 3.
Okay. You mentioned the Bible. You've been talking about how it's your favorite book. And you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that. I'm wondering what 1 or 2 of your most favored Bible verses are and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. You know, when I talk about the Bible, it's very personal. So I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into...
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that you like?
No, I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. I think it's just an incredible... The whole Bible is an incredible... I joke very much so. They always hold up the Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time.
Are you an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy? Well, you know, 50-50, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just as long the fundamentalists think that I know the passages, but you know what? You know why we know that Trump hasn't read the Bible? Because if Trump read the Bible, he would know that his name was mentioned in Thessalonians 4:16. So, Judy, let's have still number 4. Guys, this is right from the New James Version of the Bible, the most popular selling version. Thessalonians 4:16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Judy, can you come back to me? Guys, you saw it in red and white. Trump is mentioned in the Bible. It's a prophecy. It's right there. So, guys, Trump can get away with anything. But you know what? We're not going to let him get away with anything. And we're going to let Penn Jillette explain why we're not going to let him get away with it and what actually happens when you take the time to sit down and read the Bible. So, Judy, let's have number 5. There you go. That's it.
And I read the Bible cover to cover. And I think that anyone who is thinking about maybe being an atheist, if you read the Bible or the Quran or the Torah cover to cover, I believe you will emerge from that as an atheist. I mean, you can read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. You can read God Is Not Great by Hitchens. But the Bible itself will turn you atheist faster than anything. I think because what we get told about the Bible is a lot of picking and choosing. When you see Lot's daughter gang raped and beaten, and the Lord being okay with that. When you actually read about Abraham being willing to kill his son, when you actually read that, when you read the insanity of the talking snake, when you read the hostility towards homosexuals, towards women, the celebration of slavery, when you read in context that thou shalt not kill means only in your own tribe. I mean, there's no hint that it means humanity in general, that there's no sense of a shared humanity. It's all tribal. When you see a God that is jealous and insecure, when you see that there's contradictions that show that it was clearly written hundreds of years after the supposed fact and full of contradictions, I think that anybody, it's like reading the Constitution of the United States of America. It's in English. You don't need someone to hold your hand. Just pick it up and read it. Just read what the First Amendment says, and then read what the Bible says. Going back to the source material is always...
Going back to the sourced material. Guys, how many times have we talked about citing your source and where you're getting your information from? And when you look at some of the stuff that's written in the Bible, you got to go, you got to be kidding me. And I tell you, that's why we never read the Bible in school, never. Because if we would ever read stuff like that, can you imagine the nuns would have went nuts trying to explain this to us? I mean, really, how are they going to do that? But anyway, the next we have a still, and we're going to show you, just so there's no questions, what the definition of xenophobia is. So Judy, can we have that? That's still not, there we go. So as you can see, xenophobia, an unreasonable fear or hatred of foreigners or strangers, or of that which is foreign or strange. So Judy, and guys, I never really realized, that some people, well, let's take a look at Glenn Beck, for instance, Glenn Beck scares the simple folk to the point where they go out and buy guns. Yeah, they buy guns to protect themselves. And after they spend the money on the guns, they got to go out and buy a safe to put the gun in so the gun is safe. And as long as they got a safe, they might as well buy survival seeds so that after the Holocaust, they'll be able to plant. And you can't get people to do this unless you scare the crap out of them. And this is what happens. You've got these simple folks so scared that the communists and the socialists and these other people are going to take over. And guys, the next clip we're going to play, it's the clip that's been all over. And it's the clip with Donald Trump, with the guy asking the question about Muslims. So let's listen, but what I want you to listen closely to is as he's asking the question, he's mentioning camps. They have camps where they're training people, and we got to eliminate the camps. Guys, listen carefully. So, Judy, let's have clip number 7.
All right, let's start with this group right over here. Come on. Okay, this man, I like this guy.
From White Plains, amen, okay? We have a problem in this country. It's called Muslims. We know our current president is one.
Right.
You know he's not even an American.
We need this
Birth
question.
certificates,
This
man.
question.
But anyway, we have training camps growing where they want to kill us. Mm-hmm. That's my question. When can we get rid of
We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And, a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are saying that bad things are happening out there. We're going to be looking at that and plenty of other things. Okay, go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Guys, you heard it plain as day. He said there's training camps, and they want to close down the training camps. So, my buddy, our good buddy, Uncle Joey, who's got the Facebook site Things to Ponder, he put this up on his site, and he said that he knows where the training camps are. So what did yours truly say to Uncle Joey? I said, Uncle Joey, please tell us where the training camps are and be specific. Guys, you know what Uncle Joey did? He deleted the Facebook page. And that's all you have to do. Ask them to be specific and name their source, and they fold like a cheap deck of cards. But Joey lost the bet. Everybody remembers the bet that Joey lost, right? So he's got to keep me on Things to Ponder for a year. Well, he'll keep me on, but what he'll do is he'll just delete everything. And why? Because he's one of the simple folk. He's taken the conservative Pledge of Allegiance. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's true, what's factual, what's provable, what's repeatable. Whatever the Koch brothers tell him, that's what he's going to do. And guys, the next clip we're going to show you, and this is really where, I really didn't know what xenophobia was until I heard Vice President Biden talking about it, and I said, I better look this up. So, Judy, let's have clip number 8 now, please.
Folks, I don't want anybody to be down right now about what's going on in the Republican Party. I mean this sincerely now. This is not, no, I'm being deadly earnest about this. I want you to remember, notwithstanding the fact that there's one guy absolutely denigrating an entire group of people, appealing to the baser side of human nature, working on this notion of xenophobia in a way that hasn't occurred in a long time, since the Know Nothing Party back at the end of the 19th century.
Since the Know Nothing Party. I don't know who they are, but they sound like Uncle Joe and Marty and Dave straight belong to it. But guys, now we're going to come to the part of the show where we can all learn. And this is going to be from Lawrence Krauss. And Dr. Krauss is going to explain xenophobia. So just put your feet up, you know, make sure there's no distractions because we're going to learn something. So Judy, let's have clip number 9.
It's hard to lump religion, which comes in many different forms, shapes, sizes, and viewed many ways by different people in a single framework. Ultimately, I think religion is a net negative force for humanity because what it does, at least organized religion around the world, is it implies things about the real world that are just not true, that are in disagreement with the evidence of empirical testing and science. And while they may provide comfort to people, inevitably, whenever you make decisions based on something that's a myth, the decisions lead to bad consequences. Whether you're teaching children or subjugating women. So religion, of course, at various times in human history for individuals provides comfort. It has provided opportunities for groups to sometimes do progressive things, but inevitably, it's based on myth and superstition, based on ideas created by Iron Age peasants who didn't even know the Earth orbited the sun. And ultimately, why we should view that as wisdom is beyond me. The saddest part that's characteristic of everything, including the Quran, and I don't want to label just the Quran in this regard, because I think it's characteristic in the Old Testament and the New Testament and the Abrahamic religions, is the xenophobia that religion introduces. It's us versus them. We are absolutely right because we believe this or because we follow these traditions, and other people are absolutely wrong because they don't. And then the question is, what do you do to the people who are wrong because they're not part of your group? Well, in many cases, you kill them, or you ostracize them, or you send them to hell. No one mentions hell more than Jesus. Supposedly he was a loving Savior, but he uses the word hell more than anyone else in the Bible. So that's the same kind of xenophobia. In fact, it's worse in my mind. As my late friend Christopher Hitchens would say, Saddam Hussein only condemned his victims to violence and death until they died. What about a God who condemns you to eternal pain forever? Far worse than a Saddam Hussein in the sky. So I think the kind of xenophobia, the fact that people who don't conform are to be ostracized or killed, is prevalent in every religion, and I can understand it because these religions were based in some sense of preserving order within a tribe. They're all outgrowths of tribal behavior. To preserve order within a tribe, it's always us versus them. Here are rules that define you as a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim. You do those rules and you're distinguishable from the other, and the other is to be swept away. Now, in the current world, I think there's no doubt that right now, Islam is a source of more violence than a number of the other organized religions. It's not the unique source of violence, but I think the problem is just one of timing. Islam is 500 years younger than say, Christianity. And 500 years ago, Christianity was producing far more violence than Islam ever is today, from the Crusades to the Inquisition. And so it's not surprising that a younger religion, in some sense, is coming through its growing pains in that regard. The problem is we live in a time where there's access to much more destructive forces, so you've got to worry a little bit about that. Ultimately, the real problem, the real difference that I see between Islam and say, Judaism, I mean, the Old Testament is every bit, it's more violent than the Quran. It's full of violence, oppression, genocide, hatred. It's an awful book. And it's amazing that we present it as a moral standard for, if you actually read the Bible, it's a disgusting, disgusting document. There's beauty in the Psalms and the poetry of the Psalms, perhaps, but it's every bit as violent, if not more so, than the Quran. The fundamental difference, it seems to me, is that we've learned, even highly religious people take the Bible allegorically. So they take it, they don't, when it says you can stone your children if they disobey you, no one takes that seriously anymore. The difference is that many people take the Quran, every word of the Quran, as not only divine, but literally. And therefore, when it exhorts you to violence, they take that literally. That's not done anymore in the older religions, in the Abrahamic religions. The Bible still says to do those awful things, but people don't take it seriously. In fact, when we talk about religion in general, many people call themselves religious because if they think if they don't, they're not good people. There was my friend Richard Dawkins, his foundation in England, did a poll. It looked after the most recent census in England, which happens to ask what your religious affiliation is. For the first time, only 53% of people said they were Christian, or about that number. But they took the people who listed Christian in the box and said, do you believe in the virgin birth? Do you believe in transubstantiation? Do you believe in and the whole list of things that are sort of standard parts of Christianity? Most of those people said no. And then they were asked, why did you check the tick that said you're Christian? And in the end, they said, we like to think of ourselves as good people. And that's what seems to me the thing that we have to overcome the most, is people recognizing that you can be a good person by accepting reality for what it is and questioning everything, including questioning the existence of God. There's nothing wrong with that. I get letters from kids all the time who say, you know, I'm happy to read your books or see the movie you've just done because it tells me I'm not alone. I'm not a bad person for questioning what my elders or pastor or teacher say. In fact, we should be encouraging our children to question everything. It's part of education.
Guys, you see what he said? I'm not a bad person for questioning. And that's why we surround ourselves with the question marks. I mean, that's what don't accept anything. Somebody tells you something. Where are you getting your information from? Be specific and cite your source. And guys, I'll tell you, the next clip, we're going to show you a clip on how Bernie Sanders handled this conundrum when he was asked how he would address the problem. And after that, we're going to show you, Judy, after that, we're going to dissolve into still number 11, which I hope is going to blow everybody away. So right now, we're going to play video number 10, show just how outraged Bernie is with this Muslim BS. So let's have number 10.
We want to bring you more of our conversation this morning with presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. During a commercial break, we asked about Republican frontrunner Donald Trump not correcting a supporter who called President Obama a Muslim, who is, quote, not even an American.
I think it's a disgrace to again question whether or not the President of the United States was born in this country or whether he's a Christian is, I thought we were beyond that. That is, it's an outrage.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw how Senator McCain reacted much differently when he was asked a similar question years ago.
Right. And to continue this mythology and this ugliness that suggests that the President of the United States was not born in America. And we all remember Trump was one of the leaders of this effort a year ago. I thought maybe he had learned something from that. This is not what American politics should be about. Let's debate real issues.
I mean, the other interesting thing about this is whether there is this mood in the country of which you're getting support from, and he is also getting support from for very different reasons, but also for one principal reason, that there is a feeling in America that something is dramatically wrong.
Well, something is dramatically wrong when the rich get richer and everybody else gets poorer. But that has nothing to do with whether or not President Obama was born in America or whether he's a Christian.
And what about Trump on immigration?
Well, I think he's dead wrong. I think clearly what we need is comprehensive immigration reform, and we need a path towards citizenship for the 11 million people who are undocumented.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Bernie Sanders react in that way. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. I think there's universal criticism of that comment, even from Republicans this morning.
I look forward to him laying out his plans, as we talked about in the primary interview, in terms of exactly what he wants to do to achieve the goals he suggested are necessary.
Right, and how it affect taxes as well. That seems to be the one big question.
Yeah.
Taxes, state funding.
We'll continue to cover that.
Judy, that was perfect. What a beautiful dissolve. Guys, the only thing we need under that, if we get rid of, there you go, we get rid of, who's telling it we need under there? I want you. But I mean, so it's Uncle Bernie. All right, Judy, we got to remember to keep that, bring that up one more time. That's so cute. I mean, really. Guys, I've seen a lot of imitations, but that is one of the best. So there you go. You can tell your kids Uncle Bernie's coming. All right. Now, guys, the next clip we're going to play, this is a very short one, and this is so adorable because this is the introduction to Kim Davis and the shenanigans that the religious right are trying to pull. So, Judy, let's have video number 12.
New rule, someone has to tell Kim Davis's husband, who showed up for her big release event looking like this, that when people already think you're brainless, it doesn't help to dress up like the Scarecrow.
When people think you're brainless, it doesn't help to dress up as the Scarecrow. I don't know where they get this material from, but man, it's terrific. All right. Now, the next clip, first we're going to show you a still, because the next clip is a clip that's called Fox News, and Fox News used the term obtuse. So once again, I wasn't that familiar with the term obtuse. So Judy, can we have still number 13? There we go. So here we go. This is the definition of obtuse, which is annoyingly insensitive or slow to understand. I think you would call somebody, slow, stupid, slow-witted, slow, dull-witted, unintelligent, ignorant, simple-minded, witless, simple. Why didn't they use the term simple folk? Come on, guys, I'm trying to help you out here. From now on, just think of, when you think of the term obtuse, think Uncle Joe and the simple folk and all his hottest T-billies up in Catskill, New York, where there's a training camp for Muslims that doesn't exist, but Uncle Joe thinks it does, so he had to delete. Guys, you see where we're going with this. The fruitcakes don't stop. All right, now, we're going to show you how Fox is starting to eat their own. You've got a Foxstitute with 2 lawyers, and they're going after the religious right. This is hard to believe. How are they going to do this? And what are all those the people in the religious right going to do? Are they going to stop watching Fox News? No, no, no. So, Judy, let's have the next clip. Nope, we want to go to number 14 now.
The Kentucky County Clerk jailed for refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples is fighting for her freedom. Attorneys for Kim Davis officially appealed the ruling that put her in jail last week. Supporters rallying behind her over the weekend, gathering at the jail where she's being held. Another rally set for tomorrow, and GOP presidential candidate Mike Huckabee plans to be there. Here's what he had to say about the situation on Fox and Friends this morning.
It is unacceptable to put a person in jail without bail because she followed her conscience. And not only that, but she followed the only law that is in front of her. The Supreme Court's ruling, in fact, said that they ruled that there was rights for same-sex marriage. But the Supreme Court, Ed, can't make a law. They can't bring into a codified version of the law and prescribe specifically.
Trial attorney Chip Merlin joins us. Criminal defense attorney Sharon Lyko joins us as well. Chip, it seems pretty straightforward. She violated a Supreme Court ruling, and then a federal judge told her to comply with the Supreme Court ruling. She refused. Her chances on appeal, how would you handicap that?
Pretty slim, almost none, as a matter of fact. I've been doing this for 30 years, and there's one thing you certainly learn. When a judge tells you to do something and they tell you to do it, it's an injunction in this case, and you refuse to do so, you can expect to be thrown in jail. It's almost the only thing left for the judge to do. And in our civil justice system, that higher rule of law, that we can't allow others to pick and choose what rulings a judge are going to follow, is very important. Otherwise, we'd have chaos.
You know, Sharon, she can still practice her faith, just not on the job in a way that interferes with the legal rights of the citizens she serves. And in fact, U.S. Supreme Court said so 9 years ago. We'll put it up on the screen. I'll quote from it. When a citizen enters government service, the citizen by necessity must accept certain limitations on his or her freedom. I mean, Sharon, if she can't do her official duties and put those ahead of her personal beliefs, should she not hold that job?
She has a choice. She's got the get out of jail card free. But she's a hypocrite. She's applying for the job of a martyr. She wants to practice her faith by not issuing marriage licenses, yet she will not agree to let the deputy county clerks issue the marriage licenses, even if it's okay with their faith. She is a government employee. She took an oath to abide by the laws and to follow the laws. If she can't do that, then she needs to resign. If it were that easy, then you might want to revisit and talk to the families of the Vietnam War vets who went to war because they couldn't just resign or not go and do their jobs.
You know, Chip, when she took the job, she swore to uphold the law. We rely on government officials to do that. They can't just pick and choose what laws they like, which ones they don't. If they were allowed to do that, wouldn't that lead to chaos, anarchy, and so forth?
And I think that's exactly what the judge's opinion was. I mean, the judge wrote a 28-page opinion, and he was very precise in what he wrote. He even wrote, even if we personally find some of our acts not tolerable, it still doesn't mean that we're changing somebody's faith. You can still believe that this is immoral, but as an elected official, you have an obligation to uphold other people's constitutional rights. And the Supreme Court indicated people in this country have a right to get a marriage license if you're gay. And the only thing she had to do was to determine whether or not they qualified to get married. Right. That's as simple as that. It doesn't make her change her belief.
Sharon, I want you to react to the statement on Fox News yesterday by Davis's attorney, and in particular, pay careful attention to the very last sentence when he talks about constitutionality. Take a listen to this.
In the case of Rowan County and in Kentucky, 75% of the people in Kentucky passed the marriage amendment. She also took an oath to defend that Constitution as well. And when she ran for office and the people put her in the office, same-sex marriage was not part of the agenda. But 5 people 2 months ago changed that, and it's really questionable in terms of whether they even have any constitutional authority to do so.
Whether the Supreme Court has constitutional authority? Article 3, Section 2, Sharon, of the Constitution gives the Supreme Court constitutional authority to decide constitutional issues. I mean, was that a stunningly obtuse statement by her attorney?
That's a very polite way of putting it. I would say it's just a ridiculously stupid statement. The Supreme Court does just that, and they determine constitutionality. issues, they resolve these kinds of disputes. This woman has a choice. She can either follow the law, she can do her job, or she can get out.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the right to get in there and enforce the law she agrees with and oppose the laws she doesn't. If that was the way our country worked, we would just be reduced to anarchy, and there would be a free-for-all, people doing whatever they want, wherever they want. And that's not how our society functions.
Chip, I mean, it is kind of sad that this woman's behind bars. And I was trying to figure out another way that Judge Bunning could have taken. Maybe he could have said, look, I'm going to ban you from that office until you're willing to carry out your duties. And they could put a couple of federal marshals out front or one out front to prevent her from going in there. Wouldn't that accomplish the same thing, but she wouldn't be incarcerated?
Well, the judges don't like being in the position of actually running other people. They'll tell them what they have to do, and he made it a very strict ruling, but he also said he would revisit it in 7 days. And the truth of the matter in this case, the gay couple never asked for her to be placed in jail. But this rule of law is extraordinarily important. If people don't follow the final ruling, even after appeal in this case, you can expect to get thrown in jail. Otherwise, you're right, we'll have anarchy. We eventually have to conform to what judges follow, and we go along with that. You might disagree with it, but you still have to follow.
All right, Chip Merlin, Sharon Lyko, good to see you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, did you hear the way the the female attorney put it? She said, obtuse is a polite way to put it. She goes, ridiculously stupid is another. And that was one lawyer talking about Kim Davis's lawyer. And guys, what happens is it gets to the point where some of this is, and like Uncle Joe is so defensive of this woman. Oh, Rich, she's got every right, and it's, and it's her conscience that's being violated. Hey, can you imagine if we were all able to do what our conscience told us to do? Man, I don't think I'd stop at any lights on the way home. Stop signs would be a thing of the past. Let's get serious with each other, But anyway, guys, we like to have fun on this show. And a lot of times there's no better way to have it than with Bill Maher. So let's let Bill Maher give Kim Davis.
I mean, Kim Davis, this is somebody who was out there saying, and by the way, a number of the Republican candidates agreed with her, saying the Supreme Court does not get to say what's legal. What do we make of a country? Donald Trump says other countries are laughing at us. This is why they're laughing at us. Yeah. Because they say the Supreme Court doesn't get to say what's legal. Okay. Yeah, I think they do.
Okay,
I think that's exactly what the Supreme Court gets.
You're right about that, but let's also look at the fact that you have a huge sea change. I mean, it's been 15 years since the whole idea of gay marriage as acceptable and a matter of law has been around. It's been 10,000 years when it wasn't right. Barack Obama, when he ran for president,
10,000 years what?
That civilization has had marriage as between two people of the opposite sex.
No. In the Bible, it was polygamy. King David had 1,000 wives.
All right. But always, between people of the opposite sex, we have not had the concept of gay marriage, Bill, until very, very recently.
As long as it's the opposite sex.
As long as it's the opposite sex.
Because otherwise it would be weird.
Look, Bill, the point is, I mean, you can laugh at it if you want, but there are a lot of people who have to be brought along on this issue. One of the problems with the Supreme Court getting involved, you had legalization moving forward state by state. It's very similar to what happened in the whole abortion issue, where you had the Supreme Court intervene at the very time that states were liberalizing abortion laws. What happened? You polarized people.
Well, the case
and it was very, very difficult to get people brought along. And I think that's what's happened here with the Supreme Court.
The case was brought to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court didn't go out and say we're going to do this.
Of course, but that's because activists decided we're going to use the courts rather than going through the political process.
And it's a conservative court.
Yeah.
If they said it's okay, I think it's okay.
No, it's the
law of the land.
I'm not arguing it's not.
To connect this to our former discussion, if you say, as Kim Davis and her ilk and Ted Cruz and all those people say, that actually I can ignore the rule of man because the rule book of God, then you are Iran. Then you are Saudi Arabia. Then you are Sharia law.
I agree with you on that. I am just saying that it is going to take time, and you have a very substantial population that have religious views that differ, and you're going to have to bring them along.
I don't think that's her intention here, is to sort of slowly bring people along to this idea of gay marriage. She comes out of jail. Every Republican is waiting to take their photo with her. They have a shout and holler Cletus ceremony. Everyone's holding up crosses in Survivor's Eye of the Tiger is playing. I'm glad we're all coming along very slowly.
And by the way,
this issue, no.
If I may use a small area of expertise with religious bigotry.
What do you know?
Yes.
What do you know about that?
You know, I mean, allow me to fake a little knowledge on the subject. But one of the things that is a classic trope of the religious bigot is while they are denying people their rights, they claim that their rights are being denied.
Right.
While they are persecuting people, they claim to be persecuted. While they are behaving colossally offensively, they claim to be the offended party. And it's an upside down world.
Well, I mean, but especially Christians. I mean, the whole thing is based on a persecution complex. So when they say things like they're criminalizing Christianity, really you're 70% of the population.
But everybody does this. Everybody does this. In India right now, the 85% Hindu majority, its leaders are saying Hinduism is under threat. You know, in the Islamic world, the paranoia is routine. The world is anti-Muslim, and so this is just a trope that they're stealing from other bigots.
But I got to say, politicians, especially in this season, are really winning the crown for bullshit. But the all-time bullshit line I've ever heard was Mike Huckabee when he got up there this week and he said about Kim Davis, "If you're going to send her to jail, send me instead."
This is...
As if that's possible.
You can swap around? That's incredible.
So if you could say, Judge, he's going to go in my place. It's like saying, I will take your cancer.
Isn't logic and truth wonderful? I mean, come on, you know, and what drives me nuts is, you know, sometimes the denial that's involved. And Uncle Joey and I got into an argument again, and I said to him, I said, Joe, one of the reasons that we're having the refugee problem is because of global warming. And he said, oh yeah, you people, when it comes to anything that happens in the world has to do with global warming. Well, you better show me something to prove that it has to do with global warming. Well, you know what, Joe? I'm glad you asked, because the name of the show is Who's Telling the Truth? And we're gonna show you a clip now from Thomas Friedman, you know, who's a Nobel laureate, and he's gonna talk to a Syrian refugee, and you can see how climate change and drought starts to change the way we live. So Judy, hit it.
They are talking about drought when I was young. I was 11 or something like this.
She told me that before the Civil War, she had lived through another disaster.
So is this year after year, less rain?
Year after year, government doesn't try to help in any kind of way.
And that the government's response made people so angry, they were eager to take to the streets. She said, I couldn't understand the Civil War if I didn't understand what happened in the drought.
Most of farmers, they leave to Damascus, to Homs.
So they move from the countryside to the city?
To the city. They live in very poor area in Damascus. Like you can find 10 persons in one room.
Wow.
If you notice that most of people in revolution, they are from countryside of Syria.
Later, I learned that this drought was the worst in Syria's modern history, and that it happened in the 4 years just before the revolution. Over 1 million people were displaced, and according to the United Nations, more than 2 million were forced into extreme poverty.
It's really scary, really scary.
And this drought was part of a trend. According to a study by the U.S. government's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, over the last 40 years, climate change has caused the Mediterranean region to dry out, resulting in longer, more severe droughts. The places in red are getting the worst of it, and Syria is right at the epicenter. I also come across a confidential U.S. diplomatic cable written 2 years before the revolution. It contains some dire predictions. A UN official stationed in Syria feared the drought would throw the entire country into chaos. But can there really be a connection between a drought and a civil war?
Uncle Joe, are you starting to get the idea? Did you see how Syria was almost completely in red? Syria makes California look like it's an oasis. And did you see where they got the information from, Uncle Joe? The source was the NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Part of NASA. The guys that give us nothing but data, 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 so we have charts, 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 so nobody can try to fool us. And guys, the last clip is more evidence just for Uncle Joe so he can see that climate change and global warming is going to ruin the planet, and we have no planet B. So, Judy, let's have clip number 17, please.
When we tell the story of a civil war, so often we locate its origin, its birth, in the escalating conflict between a nation's people and its leaders. But wars are also caused by circumstance, by things the battling parties have no control over. Take the case of the bloody Syrian civil war, already 5 years old and far from finished. It began with pro-democracy protests that were violently quelled by the Assad regime. But new data from the National Academy of Sciences suggests that the conflict may have an additional cause, a drought brought on by climate change. By the time the first democracy protests started, Syria was already 3 years into one of the worst droughts in its history. This put extreme pressure on its northeast region, known as the breadbasket, where wheat production comprises a significant portion of Syria's economy. With no rain, farmers were forced to turn to groundwater, which came into the country via the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. But this irrigation source soon dried up too, so families did the only thing they could. They packed up and left, abandoning their homes and dried up towns. People streamed into Syria's cities in huge numbers. Between 2002 and 2010, the population of those cities rose by 50%. Such an influx led to large makeshift settlements around the city's edges, poor living conditions, spiking unemployment, and growing political unrest. In short, it led to the tinderbox that in a matter of a year sparked into the full-blown war that still ravages the country and the region. Though many of the tensions between Assad's government and its people have been simmering for a long time, it was the drought that brought them closer to a boil.
Boy, guys, Judy did a beautiful job on that, didn't she? But you know, this is a chart that was compiled by NOAA. And when you look at this, guys, you can see that the world is getting warmer. The globe is getting warmer and the climate is changing. So this is why we love charts, so that even the simple folk, even the people like Uncle Joe can look at a chart and they can go, wow, the world really is getting warmer. So guys, it was a pleasure. Next week, we're going to talk about progressives. So we're going to have a lot of fun next week. Guys, it was a pleasure. See you next week. Toodles!